Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Morning Momentum. My name is Matt Beard. If this is the first time you're joining us, first time hanging out with me, I'm a real estate investor here in Phoenix, Arizona with my two partners, Cody Barton and Pace Morby. We buy properties nationwide. We buy the ugly ones. We buy the beautiful ones. If you have something you want to sell, even in this crazy seller's market, send them over. We want to take a look at them. There's a good chance we'll buy them. With our real estate investing company, we also own a virtual staffing company, right? It's all about finding leverage. You guys know if you're tuning into these things on a daily basis or weekly basis or whatever, you know I'm all about virtual assistants. Our entire real estate business, which is our core business model, is all built around virtual assistants. Our whole team is in the Philippines, which has allowed us to have leverage in our business so we can focus on all the other verticals that we're trying to move on a day-to-day basis. So we could not do it without virtual assistants. And if you guys are trying to find the same leverage in your business, I want to implore you to go to vahub.com. That is our business. Book a discovery call, and we can see if we would be the right fit for you. So guys, as we get started this morning, happy Saturday. This is going to be a ton of fun. This is wrapping up the entire contract negotiations thing, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a retail real estate agent or if you're in wholesaling. Like primarily most of the folks that are watching this understand you're probably in wholesaling. We've been talking about how to negotiate contracts this week, not necessarily like real, not just examples of like, hey, we closed this deal, here's the numbers on it, blah, 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 but the strategies we use and the frameworks we use to train our team to be better, right? That's very, very, very important. We have to have a framework. We have to have things that can be duplicated, right? If I only have my own little process in my head, it's impossible for my business to grow because I can't outsource that. I can't delegate those things if I can't effectively train it. So guys, if you're just joining in, hope you go back and watch some of these things. This is part number 6. So part number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're really breaking down deals. We're breaking down strategy. So I think to do what we talked about this week justice, I'm going to do a quick recap before I go into my final story of the week for contract negotiation. So real quick, if you guys joined us, I don't know, was this Tuesday or Wednesday? We could have been 2 days ago. We talked about the 4 personality types, right? So the different colors, like, so you know who you're talking to. Are you talking to a blue personality type? Are you talking to a yellow personality type? Are you talking to a green analytical person, right? Are you talking to a driver or red? Like, how do you effectively communicate with the different personality types? Like our easiest closes, the easiest people to work with are the yellows and the blues, right? Yellows is probably the easiest of all because they're very kind, they're considerate, they want to have a conversation. They're opening, they're open with you. Very, very, very easy, right? And those are the great ones to have. You'll get those leads in and you're like, dude, I'm the freaking best closer in the world. That was such an easy deal or whatever, right? That's when you're working with the yellow personality type. But whenever you're having to work with a green or a red, typically those two kind of go hand in hand. Those are tough closes. Those are your lawyers. Those are your engineers. They want to know the analytics. They want to know the facts, right? They make decisions very logically, right? And you have to address their concerns because that's how you communicate with someone like that. And of course, a driver, you got to give them the illusion of control. So if you guys want more on that, I believe it was Morning Momentum number 24. So be sure to go check out number 24. We broke this down a little bit more into detail, but we're just doing a recap today. So we talked about that one, right? And we also, yesterday, we talked about our sales framework, our process, our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, right? So if you guys missed that one, please be sure to check that out. You can also type in the Sandler sales method and you're going to get something just like this, understanding how we approach our sale from start to finish. Okay. So, from the beginning of bonding and building rapport, not by trying to be their best friend. You don't need more friends, right? It is nice to be cordial and friendly with your prospect, but you're not trying to be their best friend. And people can see through that when you're like, oh yeah, hey, how's do you have kids? Oh my gosh, they have, whatever. You build rapport by knowing what you're talking about and being confident in what you're talking about. So that's always the first step. We broke this down in more detail yesterday. So if you missed Morning Momentum number 25, we broke this down for probably like 15, 20 minutes. So go check that one out. Very, very important to have a framework for your sales team, a framework for yourself, not a script, but a framework. So you can always rely on following the framework to getting the deals. Like everything that we do is based on this, even if it's unspoken. Like I have in my mind, like this is how I approach a sale, and I look at it, it's like, oh, well, I actually did steps 1 through 7 without me even knowing, right? Because that's just my framework. So that helps you train your sales team. Go check that episode out. It was very, very, I feel like it was very helpful. So lastly, I want to talk about today my first deal and why it was a game changer. It was a big paradigm shifter. So I'm going to share this photo of me. Okay, so this was me. Pace had given me this check. This was me in, I think, the first week of September 2019. So my very first check. And my very first check changed everything for me because it shifted my mindset to like, okay, gosh, I got this one deal and it was $12,000. And yes, that's a lot of money, but it mostly changed my mind. It's like, okay, all the actions that I did to get this first deal, I can do that again, and I can do that again, and I can do that again, and I can do it over and over and over. Like all of a sudden the business became very, very real for me. So, but how I got the deal is pretty, I don't know if it was lucky, happenstance, chance, I don't know. But the main thing I feel like happened was I put the energy out there. I was willing to do the work. And that's what kind of led me to being super lucky. And I want you guys to do the same. You got to put yourself in a position to be lucky, right? You got to put yourself in a position to have those uncomfortable conversations. So I'll just fast forward through the story because I don't want to bore you guys to death with the details. I was door knocking for about a month straight. Every single day, all day, I was out door knocking, trying to get some traction. And as I was door knocking, I was making some mistakes. I was like, I would have to laugh at myself because it was pretty embarrassing. But as I was door knocking, I would end up having some conversations. And my very first deal, I had this conversation with a guy. He didn't answer the door, and I would go back, and he finally, like after like the fourth time of me going back, he came out with like his pajamas on. And he was on the patio. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's see if I can help this guy. And he's like, yeah, I would sell my property, but I need $155 for it, or whatever his price was. And like how, like, this is brand new to me. How do I approach the sale? How do I get this person to like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually interested in selling. There's no like I have to present foreclosure options or anything. This guy's already pretty dead set that he needs to sell. But he's like standing out on his patio on his porch, and I'm trying to think that, hey, I need to come inside, right? I'm like, hey, so can we come in and we can talk a little bit more? He's like, no. You're gonna have to come back another time. So, luck, happenstance, or whatever, I set the appointment with him, and I'm like, perfect. Let me get my phone number for you. And let's do this thing. Like, I'll come back and we'll talk to you and your wife, and we can figure out what we can do. And I got his phone number. He's like, yeah, all right, come back on Thursday. It was like a Tuesday, so 2 days later. I'm like, okay, cool. And I texted him on Thursday morning, and I'm like, hey, Craig, just want to make sure that we're still good for this afternoon. He's like, nah, man, we're going to have to do another time. I'm like, no. So I sent him a video message on my phone via text. I'm like, hey, Craig, look, I know I'm a complete stranger. I don't want to come off as, like very pushy or anything. I want to work on your guys' schedule. When's the best time that I can come over so we can really look at all the options that are on the table? He responded to that message. He was like, okay, I got it. How about, and then he was like, all right, how about come tomorrow morning? I'm like, perfect, let's do it. So I went over there Friday morning, and, I was probably making every mistake in the book. I brought a little folder in there with me with a contract. That's my first no. Never, ever, ever bring a contract in an appointment with you guys, especially the first time, because contracts make people feel weird. Like, leave that stuff out in the car. Always leave anything. Don't bring anything. You don't have anything in your hands. Leave that stuff out in the car, because if someone says yes, they're ready to sell their property to you, you can always go out and get it, right? So that was one of my first mistakes. And as I'm sitting there, we're like negotiating on the price, and we're going back and forth. And again, they're like walking out on the patio without me, and they're discussing it, and they're coming back in, and they walk back out on the patio, discuss it, and come back in. And then they had to like call their uncle, and their uncle was like, no, you guys are getting a bad deal, and yada, yada. And they put him on speakerphone, and he was like grilling me, and I was trying to like answer his objections. And I don't know if it was just like having the right things to say. But it worked out to where like their uncle wanted to get a copy of the agreement. It was this big mumbo jumbo. They're like, we're not going to sign anything until he looks at it. And this was like my first deal. I'm like, I'm gonna mess this thing up for sure. But luckily, man, I had built enough. I built trust. That was always the first thing with me. It's like, I'm just gonna be myself and try to build trust without being fake. And as I'm sitting there in the appointment, I'm talking to them and we're going over the price and stuff. I'm learning, like, I mean, where in the world are you guys gonna go? Like, what's happening and stuff. And as I was digging deeper into their situation, everyone has a reason why they want to sell their property. But when we're talking about selling their property at a discount, like, there's got to be some stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know, right? That I don't know what's going on. So I was just wanting to ask more questions and figure out, why now is the right time. And I found out that they actually had a car accident and their daughter got it really bad. They had like hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills for like her, because she had like a bunch of surgeries on her face to fix it, and like all these other things that happened from that car accident. And that is why they got behind on their mortgage, is because they had a ton in medical bills. And then obviously Craig lost his job and he was, trying to find a job and doing all this stuff. So like I learned a lot at that point in time and realized, like, this is what I need to focus on. I need to focus on finding these little clues instead of making it about the property and like, hey, do you guys want to sell? It's more, hey, how can I help? Right? We're always problem solvers. We talked about this on previous lives. How can I help? How can I find what's really going on here so I can figure out that maybe selling isn't the right thing, right? If it's not the right thing, how can I help this person? And then structuring a way for you to work with this person around solving their problems, right? For their particular problem was, yes, they needed the money. They needed the money so they can catch up on their medical bills and get put into a short-term rental until they get back on their feet, right? And during this process, I also learned that Craig was really into baseball. He's a Cubs fan. I'm a Braves fan, right? As I'm sitting, he had like a Cubs hat on. And as I'm sitting there, his son really loves baseball, but they don't have enough money to put him in any kind of baseball programs. So a part of our process, and this didn't happen until I got it under contract, and as we're talking through it, like, okay, Craig, well, this is what we do. We can give you guys some post-possession for a month so we can find you a rental, which I did find him a rental. I gave him like a personal letter to get into the rental. So I did everything I said I was going to do. I fulfilled on that end. But, a part of like the whole thing was once I got that thing under contract and I'm like, okay, we're going to do post-possession. Anything you guys don't want, you can leave here. We'll trash it out. No problem. It's all the additives. It's all the things. It's not just, can you pay my price? It's all the other things that's going to set you apart. All the other little problems, or all the other little things that you can do to help a prospect is going to set you apart, especially in such a competitive market, guys. When you're like 2021, especially here in Phoenix and in most places, this is as competitive as it's ever been. So how can you set yourself apart? It's not negotiating a price. It is conveying to your prospect that you are the right person. It's conveying to the prospect that you're going to be the one that's going to solve whatever problems they have, right? Because if they have crazy problems, that's where we get our deals from. They have to have issues. They have to have pain. They have to have motivation for someone to sell at a discount. So with working with Craig, this was my very first deal. I quickly realized that was the thing that was going to set me apart. How can I solve these problems at a higher level? How can I help these people at a higher level? Is it a moving team? Is it getting them into a rental and referring them to an agent, or writing a personal letter on their behalf that they're really good people? Is it giving them post-possession in the property so they can find said rental, right? Like, what is the thing? Is it, helping them relocate something? Is it, oh, we need to move things into storage. Do you need me to pay for a month of storage? Like, what is the thing that is like, what's the actual objection? How can I find that actual objection and then solve that problem and help you and understand, like, man, like, we can do anything for you. Like, we're willing to help within reason, right? And, as like during the escrow process, again, I knew that they were baseball fans. And one of the days where we wanted to get our contractors to come over, AKA we're going to have our buyers come over to the property, I told them, let's put the keys in the lockbox and I'm going to pay for you guys to go to a Diamondbacks game. So I bought them tickets, I bought them tickets near the dugout of the Cubs side. So it was actually Cubs versus Diamondbacks. They were in town, happenstance, crazy. I bought them tickets to the game. It was actually 2 days. I bought them tickets for everybody, for the whole family, for 2 days. And those were the days that we wanted to have people come over to the property. So I'm like, this is what we're going to do. You guys go to the game. I'll give, here's some cash for some food too. Cause I mean, they didn't really have much money. They haven't gone to a baseball game probably in like 6-7 years because they haven't had money for a long time. So I got them tickets to the game. They went and they're like sending pictures to me, and they had like, their corn dog and all this other stuff. And that was so amazing. And I realized early on in this, I'm so happy this was my first deal, because a lot of times people just get a wholesale deal just from someone who's already asking a discounted price. And then that is how they feel like they should approach every deal. It's just like price. But because this one was my first deal and I realized it was prospect. How can I help? How can I make this a great experience for my client, for my person I'm working with? I realized that this is how I'm going to approach every sale. And like, I don't get any deals. Like, very seldomly do we get a deal with someone's like, I want a price. That's all I need, man. That's good. Without me having to really solve some problems. Right. So I want you guys to understand, when you're doing your contract negotiations, how can you put the prospect first? So, I got Craig, I didn't get Craig to sign sign an agreement with me simply because, hey, we're good on this price. Craig and Christy signed a contract with me because I was giving them things that other people couldn't, or maybe the other people just didn't even offer. And I cared, right? I was there to help. So guys, I want to give you this week. You have to start solving problems at a higher level. You have to find what is really going on behind the scenes. And look, sometimes you're going to find this late in the process. Sometimes you're going to be talking. And as they slowly open up more to you and you're building that rapport and you're doing these things, like, they're going to eventually open up to you if they feel like they can trust you. And then that's where you find the motivation. That's where you find the real thing, if they're truly motivated to sell their property. I remember we're outside of a mobile home one time up in North Phoenix. And I think I was there for 2 hours with this lady. We walked through her property. It was awful. And she's like, yeah, I just need to sell. I just want to get it moved into an RV home. I just want to move into an RV home, and I just want to travel the country. Got it. So you just want to uproot right now and just start traveling out of nowhere. And as we were talking and going over it, and I was building more rapport, she goes, well, I don't have my husband here because he's in prison, actually. And, we're trying to get him out. We're trying to get him out, but he has this sentence coming up, and I need to get a lawyer. And if I don't have $25,000 to pay for this lawyer, he might go to prison for life. And she was crying and stuff. And like, I didn't get to that point. If I just made it about the property and didn't continue building rapport, I would have never found like what is really happening here. And then once she opened up to me and she was crying and she was like, yes, I need this money to help him, blah, 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 blah. Like, the deal was done. Like, if I could help get her that money that she needed, then everything else would just fall into place. So you got to find that stuff. You don't find it by just saying, hey, Mr. Seller, this is the best we can do for your house. This is the best we can do for your property. You got to have all the tools in your tool belt and be willing to solve their problems at a high level. So that's the story of my first deal, guys. You got to approach it as a problem solver and be okay with putting yourself in uncomfortable positions to help somebody, right? Ask the questions, dig deeper, be a real person, be you. Being you is all you'll ever need. When you're talking about contracts and you're trying to relate and you're building rapport with someone, just be you. Help that person at a high level, and you can get checks just like that, right? I've taken that approach for every single deal since, and obviously it works, man. It freaking works. So, you can get the frameworks, you can get the sales processes, you can get the personality sheets and all these things. But if you don't go start practicing it and actually talking to people who are in foreclosure or talking to people who are in distress, then it means nothing, right? So hopefully you guys watch this Morning Momentum today. It is Saturday. Watch this stuff. Take some of these tactics, take some of these things, these strategies, and start applying them. Like, you can literally go out today. You can download BatchDriven at batchdriven.com/launch. You get a week for free. You can literally download that thing right now, go out and drive for dollars or door knock for foreclosures, start building a pipeline and have conversations with homeowners like right now. Like, you can start building that traction in your business right now. And within 30 days, you can get a freaking $10,000. Like, that is insane. It may be even more. It may be a $20,000 check. If you're willing to do the things that most won't and start having these conversations and get your repetitions in, like, the world is yours, man. The world is yours. So guys, start taking some action. Start taking some action on this stuff. Implement the things that we talked about this week with contract negotiations. Make it about the prospect. How can you help that prospect? How can you solve their problems? How can you be a real ass person when communicating with them? Right? I appreciate you guys coming in, watching this stuff. This is a great week about contract negotiations. Again, if you want to get that, go back to refer to the personality colors. That was number 24. Yesterday was our sales framework, number 25. So go back and refer to those things and start taking some action on it. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me on a Saturday. Freaking Morning Momentum is always a ton of fun. Today's a big day because I have 3 appointments I got to get to with a few sellers that we just got to get over the ledge. I mean, all 3 of those deals could probably bring in a little over 80 grand. So that is today. Today's a really big day. I have some appointments to go do. I'm going to keep you guys posted on it. I'm going to record the conversation so we can have that for future trainings. We do have that free VA training next Wednesday. So if you guys have a virtual assistant and you want them to be trained, go to vahubmembers.com. I'm going to put here vahubmembers.com/train your VA. Okay. Go here, vahubmembers.com. vahubmembers.com/train your VA to get your VA trained. It's going to be 4 hours. It's going to be super duper epic. It's for your VA. It's not for you. We're going to have it recorded. And once it's done, we'll give you a copy of the recording. It's going to be a ton of fun, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Saturday. Morning Momentum, as always. I always look forward to this stuff. Big day ahead. I hope you guys have a big day ahead as well. Start taking action on these things. And we'll see you tomorrow for a new series. Peace.